If you can answer these 5 questions without referring to any resources, congratulations, you are a pro JavaScript programmer. These are the 5 JS tricky questions that teach you a lot about JavaScript. The first one is an array question. You are required to know the output of this code. This code initializes an array with 4 elements, deletes the second element using the delete operator, and logs the length of the array. Despite deleting the elements, the length of an array remains unchanged because delete removes the value, but it does not alter the array structure. Let me quickly run the code and show you the output. As you can see, it didn't alter the array length. The delete operator only removes the value of the element at the specified index. So, however, the element is not removed from the array entirely. It's replaced with undefined at that index. This means that the array still has the same number of elements, but the deleted element is now empty, or it's set to undefined. You can see the third element, but it's an empty item. Let me paste the second example again. We are asked to know the output of this code without running the code. So the variable y is declared outside the function, but it's not assigned any value at the time of declaration. Therefore, at the time of the function call, the global variable y is undefined. And the function assigns the value 7 to the y variable, which does not declare a new local variable, but it assigns the value to the global variable y because y was already declared outside of the function. Now, let me run it, and you will see 7 printed in the console. So the variable y is declared globally using let, and the function getY assigns 7 to the global y variable. So since the assignment happens to the already declared global variable, there are no scope conflicts and it's printed to the console. This is another example of an arrow function in an object. The method getName is defined using an arrow function, and arrow functions do not have their own this context. Instead, they inherit it from their surrounding or lexical scope. So the this inside the arrow function refers to the global context, which is window in browsers, or global in Node.js, because this is not bound to the student object. And since there is no name property defined in the global scope, it will print undefined. So this .name does not refer to the name property inside the student object, but to the global object, and that is why it's logging undefined. But if you want to refer to the name property of the student object, you should use a regular function instead of an arrow function. So regular functions have their own this context, which would correctly refer to the object calling the method. Now, let's do one more example of guessing the output for this code. The slice method is used to create a shallow copy of the animal's array. This means that if the array contains primitive values, like strings or numbers, they are copied. However, if the array contains objects, only the reference to the object is copied, not the actual object itself. This is the core concept of a shallow copy. So it first changes the type property of the cloned object, and since the slice method copies the reference of the object, the type for both the cloned and original object is changed to bear. When we change clones of index 1 to sheep, it does not affect the animal's array because primitive values are copied and not referenced. So animals of index 1 remain tiger, while clones of index 1 become sheep. The last question is regarding an object. It first creates an object prototype using object.create method and assigns it to a cat variable. Object.create method is used to create a new object with a specified prototype. In this case, the prototype of cat is an object with a type of lion. So this means that cat doesn't directly have the property type on itself. Instead, it inherits this property from its prototype. It then directly adds a property size to the cat object. This makes size a direct property of cat, not inherited from the prototype. And the spread operator creates a shallow copy of all the own properties of cat. So own properties are the ones directly on the object and not on its prototype. Since size is a direct property of cat, it will be copied to copycat. So, however, the type is inherited from the prototype, not a direct property of cat. So, when copycat is created, it does not copy the prototype's type property. In the next line, when we change the cat type to tiger, we are now adding a new direct property type to the cat object, while shadowing the type property it inherited from its prototype. This change doesn't affect copycat because copycat has already been created and doesn't reference the same object as cat. So when we run, the log copycat.type will be undefined because the type property was not copied, instead it was inherited in cat. And inherited properties are not copied by the spread operator. Copycat.size will be large because this was a direct property of cat and was copied. So these are the 5 tricky JavaScript questions. I will also do part 2 adding more questions, so stay tuned.